Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin McDonald, but you knew that. Rochelle will join us here in just a second. You didn't know that, but now you do. And we've got a great guest for you today. His name is Jim Tracy. I can even say his name, so I'm excited about that. And he's the Grampian, and that's what his grandchildren call him because he's the grandpa champion. So it's just a Grampian. He's a podcaster. He's a brand new award-winning author of a great book that we're going to talk about a great deal. And we're going to talk about men and men's issues a little bit and stuff like that. So Jim, welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're here.
Kevin, thanks for having me. This is really an honor for a guy who spent 27 years in Seattle. Or in the Seattle area. Anyway, I'm feeling the treasure here, buddy.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm still here and I ain't going anywhere because, I used to travel the country quite a little bit, and they have things like big spiders and snakes and other stuff there. And we don't have any of that here, but don't tell anybody that.
Oh, okay, well, not tell anybody from California that Seattle's lovely.
Yeah, because, it used to be that they would sell their house down there, and then they would come here because the houses were a lot cheaper. Ain't so much anymore. Because Microsoft is here and Amazon's here and all that kind of good stuff. And so our housing has gone up quite a little bit, but that's okay. What part of Seattle or the nearabouts did you live?
Well, we were in the Gig Harbor area and established a small business there that turned into a big one. It was beautiful. And then Seattle started coming across the water to us. And so they inflated our house price. And we moved down to start another little branch in the Boise market. And so back in the Rocky Mountains, a little bit more sunshine.
Yeah, I was born in Idaho Falls. And that's not too far away from Boise.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and your story. You've got 350 podcasts that are out there and you talk to champions, which is hence the reason for Grampian is that you talk to champions and you're a Grampian. So,
I'm not bold enough to say that my name is Grampian, but my grandson, Wes, was the one who stuck that on me, and I like the way it fit. I will certainly admit that, but no, I'm a country bumpkin from South Dakota who grew up, and I stuttered a bit when I was a kid, and I had some math issues and all that kind of stuff, and along the way, a whole bunch of people invested in me, and so I wrote something a little bit about all of them, I was a welder in Duluth, Minnesota, and I met this girl and fell head over heels in love in about, 12 seconds. That was 45 years ago. And I went to her dad and I said, "Hey, I'd like to marry your daughter." He said, "Where are you going to college?" I'm like, "Anywhere you want, sir. If that's the price of admission, I'm all in." So,
nowadays they would go, "Don't go to college, become a welder."
Yeah, no kidding, right? And there's a lot of truth to the wisdom in that. But yeah, I went through college, worked in Minneapolis for a while, worked in Denver for a while, and moved out to Seattle for a job and raised 5 children, now up to 18 grandchildren, and away we go, man.
Do you remember all your grandchildren's names?
I do.
You're a better man than me. I never would have a shot at that. I was a sales guy for a long time, and I had a terrible time with names. Still do.
I've got my youngest I've got a pair of twins in the womb out in Port Orchard, Washington. And I have my oldest grandson is getting married in September, and so I got a pretty big spread. Now, with that comes the ability to memorize them over longer periods of time. So,
Well, how old is the oldest one that's getting married?
22 years old.
Oh, can you tell him? Well, never mind. I won't go there.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he found the girl of his dreams.
Oh man, us Tracy men, we have a habit of marrying way above our pay grade. So I'm going to tell him to keep going.
Well, and congratulations on 45 years of marriage.
Thank you, sir.
What's your secret?
Wow. Number one, I think that when we were married for a bit, I was kind of a scoundrel, and most of my youth was spent as a scoundrel. And at one point during our marriage, my wife got saved, and she became a devotee and a disciple of Jesus, and I fell in line about a year later. And putting him at the center and us at the edges is a really good place to be.
That is a really good place to be because
Yeah.
I was married for 24 years. It was the best 6 months of my life.
That's awesome, man.
I really shouldn't say that because that's really not true. It was actually
Well,
more like a year, but
time does fly when you're having fun, right?
it does indeed. It does
Yeah.
indeed. So tell us a little bit about your podcast and your interviewing and what are you doing and how did you get into it?
Well, back in Gig Harbor, when our employee count went over 100, I went back in the shop one time, and actually I looked up and I saw a person, and they worked for me, and I didn't know their name. And by that time, we had expanded. We had a shop in Ritzville, Washington, and one in Three Forks, Montana. And the guy who was running a lot of our media stuff, he came to me and he said, we should come up with a way to reach out to them. So we started doing a little program, a live program that we called Legacy Radio, where I just got to express my heart to our employees once a week. And we actually did it live. And he said, don't do it live. They're going to ask you questions that you aren't going to like very much. And so it was one of the very first weeks. I'm like, hey, man, I can answer any of their questions. And so one of the very first questions I got was, hey, Jim, how much do you make? And I said, great question, man. How much do you make? And he said, well, I don't really want to say with all these people listening. I get, neither do I. Next question. And we just went on. And that turned into when we merged our company with some others, they liked what we were doing. So, now we got 5 companies listening and what we call on radio, and it expanded into kind of an industry program. And that we had competitors calling to join our and listen into our video program by that time. And so we just kind of turned it naturally into a podcast. And when I retired out of the wireless business, I really missed it. And so we just started the Grampian, and it's just been a kick, man. We're having so much fun. We're getting great guests, and I just can't imagine an environment where you can learn more than kind of an open air, unfettered dialogue podcast from people who are champions. That's what we do.
Yeah, and what have you found in all the people that you've interviewed and the champions? What have you found as a common denominator for them?
Wow, Kevin, I think it's not what you think. Most people think it's that little Super Bowl winning dopamine hit that you last for 20 seconds. That they got finally where they have always wanted to be. It's not that. It's the grind and the teammates and the efforts and the struggles that it took to get to the top. And it's what it takes to actually build a champion more than actually becoming one. Medals are gonna, rust and rot, and the relationships are what become the most important and the most salient things of all the people that I talk to in terms of champions.
I had the opportunity to interview Ray Roberts just the
Mm,
other day, and he was an offensive lineman for the Seahawks, and then for
yeah.
the Detroit Lions. And he played in the NFL for 9 years. And you're exactly right. That was what motivated him, was the team and the
Uh-huh.
teamwork and the togetherness. And they're really, and I didn't make it past high school football, but I tell you, that moment in time when you are part of something bigger than yourself, and it's a team, and all 11 guys that are on the field have to prepare and play at a high level, or you're not going to do very well.
Yeah.
And so, but there's a camaraderie there that transcends virtually any other thing, and that's
Mm.
what's really cool. And you end up, and it happens in all kinds of industries and all kind of thing, where people end up working with each other because they like each other. And it sounds to me like you put together a podcast and a show that could bring these guys together, so even if they were in different locations, they felt part of the team. That's really
Yeah.
important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I heard a guy speak the other day and he said, if you can imagine, and I'm stealing it from him, so all my best ideas are probably stolen anyway. But he said, if you can
Everybody.
imagine going to a baseball game and you see the bench is clear and everybody meets at the mound and they're fighting for the team. Now imagine for a moment if one bench cleared and they went out to the mound and they started fighting each other. See, that is unnatural. That is un it happens. And when I work with companies, I'm like, you guys got to quit fighting each other. But really, if you look at that, if everybody starts pulling in the same rope, we, even as Americans, can accomplish amazing things. It's pretty awesome.
Well, and we have shown throughout history, time after time, that when we come together for a greater project, it's like the greatest generation is amazing to me, because so many people made so many sacrifices. Whether or not you were in the military or not, you still ration things. You
Yep.
still took stuff to get it recycled. The penny became a stainless steel thing rather than copper, because they were using the copper for the military.
Mhm.
And women were going to work, the riveter, what do they call it?
Rosie the Riveter.
That's it. Thank you very much. And all of those things that we came together as a country, because sadly at that time is because we had a couple of common enemies.
Yeah.
It would be nice, wouldn't it be nice, Jim, if we could come together as a country without the having the necessity of having an enemy be the other guy?
Yeah, yeah. I think most of the places, most of the organizations, large or small, when people are working together to come towards a common goal, it is far better than coming towards a common enemy.
It is.
Yeah.
And especially and I've talked a lot about this on the show with a lot of different CEOs and CEO coaches and stuff. That's really not, unfortunately, that's not the norm right now in a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
Is that they don't work really hard to be together with a common vision and a common purpose, and they end up, fighting each other's for promotions or for pay raises and different things. In your opinion, why isn't it, because my Pollyannish self says, why can't we just get along?
Yeah. Well, Polly, one of the things, Pollyanna, one of the things that I've been working really hard on is the culture revival blueprint. And I work with a lot of businesses and they come to me and they're like, yeah, it's just not what I thought it was going to be, because when we were small, we were this way. And now that we've grown, we're that way. And I'm like, okay, so let's look at the culture revival blueprint. A blueprint is something that you use to build something. You start with a foundation, you put a floor deck on it, you build the walls, you frame the roof, and then you put weatherproofing in the outside. And if you are very, very fastidious about following those blueprints, those plans, what happens is you get the building you wanted when you started. Much is the same truth with culture. If you're existing in a business where the culture isn't what you wanted when you started, it's not too late to change. But you have to have a plan to go about it. And that is one of the things that is really essential in today's marketplace.
How come more people don't have a plan?
Well, as you grow, sometimes the tyranny of the urgent and the obstacle to culture is sometimes growth itself. And if you forget why you were doing what you were doing, I think it's Simon Sinek who says, "Hey, what's your why?" And we need to do a better job as leaders of recreating or reinventing or just reinvigorating the why we do things so that we can have the kind of culture that we envisioned when we started this adventure.
It gets lost in the confusion of day-to-day activity and profit and loss statements and
Yeah.
this person lead, just the day-to-day rigmarole. And we tend to lose sight of the original overall plan. You're right. And
Mhm.
that makes it really tough. By the way, we're talking with Jim Tracy, and he's the Grampian. Go to one of his websites. He has several, thegrampian.com, and you can find out all about his podcast and stuff. When we come back, Michelle's going to hopefully join us, and we are going to talk about his book and why he wrote it and what his why is. So we're going to take this break. It's just going to be about 45 seconds. So stay right with us, everybody.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Rochelle's going to be here presently, and Jim Tracy is our guest, and he's the Grampian, which is a podcast, and the podcast can be heard almost anywhere these days, can't it?
Yeah, I was looking out, and I'm shocked at how many podcast platforms there are, but we're on a lot of them.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about that, for those of you that may be a podcaster or thinking about it, if you get on Apple and then all these other places are all looking for content, they're all looking for quality content. And so they tend to pull it from Apple. And so we're in places I have no earthly idea that we even are. It's remarkable. But in addition to the Grampian podcast, you are now an author, and you have this book out, and it's doing very well on Amazon. First of all, give us the name of the book and hold it up for me if you wouldn't mind.
Okay. The name of the book is Building Men: Character Lessons from Influencers. And it was published by Morgan James. The first story is on the cover. These three guys right there are my grandsons, and that's me flying the airplane. This painting came from an original photo that was taken by my beautiful daughter-in-law, Heidi. And those are Gus, Wes, and Colby, my three oldest grandsons. They were watching me take off out of a Ritzville, Washington airport. And so the whole thing is something that is just kind of surreal for an old grandpa.
Well, but it's just a continuation of your life. When you look at it, you got married and you had your career and you had your companies and you had your grandchildren. It's just continuing on.
Yeah.
And now you're going to have 20. If my
18.
memory, it's going to be, you've got 16 now and two in the oven.
2 in September, 2 more in September that are in the oven. Yeah.
You need to tell your children to stop that sort of thing. That's
I don't know. enjoyed it, man.
Well, good. What is your family reunion like when you all get, can you all get together, or are you scattered all over the place?
Yeah, well, we're mostly everybody's in the Pacific Northwest. So every once in a while, I think this September at a wedding, we're all going to be together. So more and more, it's on events. Usually, we try to take a ski vacation somewhere, and they kind of drift in and out. So, but it makes it for a lot of fun. Sometimes we go someplace warm, which is not a bad thing if you're from Idaho or from Washington.
That's
Warm and
true.
dry.
Yeah, I was talking with a gal earlier today that's in Louisiana. And I said, "Oh, Louisiana, it's humid. It's hot. It's hot." And she said, "Yeah, it is." And she had visited up in Seattle, and she said, "I love it up there, but all my friends tell me don't move there because you'll get this disease called the lack of sunshine disease, and you're gonna hate it up there because it's gonna rain all the time," which it does. It rains every day, twice a day on Sundays, and it's terrible. Don't ever move here. And if you're living here and you don't like the rain, get out. But in any event, so tell me about the process behind and the motivation for the book, and how, because generally most of the authors I talk to the idea had been rattling around in their brain for a period of time, but they
Mhm.
never got around to it until suddenly an event happened or a time frame opened up and they said, "I think it's time to write the
Yeah.
book." What was your process like?
When I exited as the CEO of Legacy Telecommunications, I found myself in Boise, and I've got these new grandkids coming in, and it became apparent to me that if I get hit by a bus, they're not going to know very much about me or what's important to me, and they're certainly not going to know about the people who invested in me. And this book really, there's 20 chapters, and each chapter contains a characteristic or a character trait. That someone else taught me. And I love what I call low tuition learning, Kevin. It's where I get to take lessons from other people and apply them rather than the training by trauma that I have to do when I learn by myself. You get tired of beating your head against the wall. That's probably a really effective learning tool, but the lesson always comes after the test. And I like it
Exactly.
round. So I have looked like I start the book off with my grandfather Brown, my grandpa Brown, and the name of that chapter is unwavering because he was just like a steady Eddie, and he was very committed to singular principles which were really important to him. There's another chapter about loyalty that talks about my siblings. There's a one of my favorites is my uncle Earl was an incredibly powerful man, but when you look at what he did, he was very meek, which meekness is strength under control, and he was a great example of that. So I was able to take that in a little bit, not enough of it, but a little bit, and learn that lesson from him about self control. And so meekness is a chapter. It's really cool. There's another if you're a teacher out there, I dedicated a whole chapter of my book to a teacher, and his name was John Devine, and hopefully I did it a little bit of justice. But there's 20 character traits, and they all kind of pay homage to the lessons from people, men who invested into me. Now, don't get your shorts in a wad if in fact you think it's only about men, because I opened the chapter thanking my mom and my wife and my daughters for their contributions, and I'm so grateful for them, but also for the men who invested in me. And so this is a thank you of sorts, but it's also an inspiring thing because you look at people from 1903 to born in the Gen Ys and Gen Zs. They all taught me lessons. They came from everywhere.
It's amazing how many people, if you sit and you start adding up all the people that have positively contributed to your life and your development over time, It's mind-boggling
Crazy.
the numbers of people that there are.
Yeah. Especially the ones that are significant. Now, I could have written this book. It could have had 120 chapters, but the publishers kind of looks down on that. He isn't
Yeah,
ready for
they
another
do.
War and Peace.
Yeah, and they do, but there are, if you had to pick one guy, I've got one guy in my life that
Mhm.
I hold in much higher esteem than virtually any other human that I come in contact with. Who is that guy and what did he do for you?
Well, I mean, my first answer would be my grandfather because he had 40 grandkids, but he set aside time.
So this is a generational thing, having a bunch of
Oh
grandkids.
yeah, oh yeah. But well, he had 6 kids, but they all had a lot of kids. They're the Midwest Catholics. They had to stay warm at night. Anyway, uh, he with even with all those grandchildren, he carved time out just for me. And I think he kind of knew that I was the kid who might have needed a little encouragement along the way. And like I said, I had a bit of a rough go coming out of the gate. When I was in second grade, my teacher went to my mom and she said, "Your boy needs to move to the state school for retarded citizens because had a math disability that was real strong and I stuttered, so I had trouble expressing myself." And thank goodness for my mom who said she said no with a pretty emphatic voice.
Well, she knew
And
you best.
well, she did know me best, and I think that at the end of the day, there's this process that people go through to conquer their fears. I had a tremendous fear of public speaking, and I speak from stages in front of thousands of people now. And people are like, "How do you do that?" And I said, "Well, my dad, he kind of encouraged me at slash made me speak from a stage once when I was in high school, and I won this contest, and I was flabbergasted that this person who used to string words together, but it was always the same word. um, this person who used to do that could get on a stage and have impact on people, and it's a process of being counterphobic. So I learned, partially from my brothers, partially from my dad, partially from a lot of these people, that if I were to take this tack and always be counterphobic. So if you're afraid of something, go do it. And then if you're still afraid of it, do it again and do it again and do it again. I was afraid of heights, so I started a tower business. I was afraid of flying, so I started flying. Now I'm a type-rated jet pilot at 62 to 66 years old. And we have a tremendous amount of fun in our family doing stuff like that because we're not afraid to attack something that we're fearful of.
That's a big skill right there. That's one of the top skills that you can have is if you're not afraid of failure,
Mm.
if you're willing to accept the fact that failure is an option, but you're going to do it anyway.
And it's temporary.
Yeah.
A failure is just one more opportunity for success where you just improved a little bit or just missed by a little bit. So just keep going.
Well, and the problem is, no, it's not a problem. The advantages of failure is that there's one less thing to get wrong.
Yeah.
So eventually you're going to get it right, and it's going to be that much sweeter because you've beat the challenge and you've overcome so much to get there. And I tell people, you talk to champions all the time. The best baseball player in the world ever
Uh-huh.
failed 6 out of 10 times.
Yeah. And there hasn't been a 400 hitter since Ted Williams.
That's exactly. He was who I was referencing, and by the way, Ted Williams was a baseball player before most of us were born, and he
Yeah.
was extraordinary at what he did. But even now, it's a 300 hitter. They're still failing 7 out of 10 times.
And they're getting paid a lot of money to do it.
Boy, ain't that the truth? Ain't that
Yeah.
we came up at the wrong time and picked the wrong profession.
There you go. They
But
dedicate themselves to excellence every day. And I think anybody that does that is going to experience what I would say is if you experience excellence in anything you do, you're just way ahead of the norm. It's awesome.
and what a key component of that, and I want to talk about it when we come back from this break, is the ability to continue and not quit.
Hmm.
Because if you don't quit, well, excuse me, let me put it another way. If you quit, you can't succeed. But if you continue to work at it day in and day out and improve your skills and appreciate who you are, you will succeed at one point, but you can never quit. And by the way, we're talking with Jim Tracy. He's the Grampian, and he's also an author, and we're learning he's a pilot. And you be careful when you're flying those things around, would you please?
Okay. Yes, sir.
It's yeah. Well, never mind. So I don't even want to put that out there. So Jim Tracy is with us. We are going to be right back in a minute and 10. Stay with us.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and she was here for just a second, and then she's gone again.
In and out.
Yeah. I was going to go through a thing and introduce Rochelle, and then she was here, and then she was gone. Like in any event, but talk to me. I'm willing to bet, young man, and I can call you that because you're younger than me. I'm willing to bet that you've never quitted anything in your life. Would I be correct in that, or did your grandpa and your parents and the other folks, did they instill that in you, or is that a learned trait that you developed?
Yes. There's a chapter in the book called Perseverance. So yes, they did instill that in me, and it was driven in with some emphasis. But there's a chapter in the book called Perseverance, and it talks about some people who came alongside me when I was competing in the performance dog world, and we did these things called hunt tests. They're a retriever trial, and so I went through the basic level or the starter level, and I was like 4-0, like rock star, and then I went into the intermediate level, and I was 4-0. Rock star, and then I went to the senior level, the master level of the North American hunting retriever. And there's a local guy to the Puget Sound by the name of Harry Williams, and Harry, he came alongside me and said, it's going to get a little tougher. And I'm like, yeah, I can handle that. Okay, so when I started to go offers, we called it the Offer Club. At one point, I was 0 for 11. 0 for 11. That means did not qualify, like get out, you're done, take a hike, don't need you. 0 for 11. He's like, you're close. You just got to keep going. You're close. You just got to keep going. And so a first-time handler with a first-time dog, and ultimately that dog was the very first 1,000-point dog in the North American Hunting Retriever Association in the state of Washington since 1950. And she was the first one. And it was pretty darn incredible because I was 0 for 11, and Harry just said, "You're close. Keep going. Don't quit. Keep going. Just make this little tweak, make this little fix. Don't stop." And so there's a chapter in the book called Perseverance, and that's the lesson there. And he and another guy by the name of Dan Hosford from Spokane were the spurs that kept on my backside and driving me towards what I would say was excellence, because that dog went on to appear at the nationals on multiple occasions, I think 9 times. So, yeah.
For those, including myself, who have no idea how important a 1,000-point dog would be, can you explain that to us, how that all worked?
Well, for every time you get what I'll call a win or a victory or a qualification, you get like 50 points. And so it takes a while to accumulate. Think of that, 1,000 points worth of wins when you only get 50 points at a time. And so the more you do it, the better off you get. Now, some of that process involves 50-point wins, but a lot of it involved 20-point wins. So numerically, you have a very long ladder to climb, and it takes perseverance. It takes longevity in the sport in order to do that. And so, but the whole lesson was, I mean, a few years later, I would step to the line and I would know how good we are. But when I was 0 for 11, I was feeling like the dumb chump who shouldn't be there. Imposter syndrome.
I played football in high school with a guy. His name was Mark. He's passed now.
Mm.
And I played with him for 4 years. He practiced every day. He got the poo kicked out of him every day.
Mm.
He kept showing up. He was there every day for the entire 4 years. He never started a game. He suited up for varsity because they felt sorry for him,
Mm.
but he never played except for the very last game in the last quarter. They let him play, and he actually recovered a fumble, and
Oh,
that was
yay.
like the moment of his life. But in my mind, because I had done well and I was in all conference and all that, in my mind, he was somebody to really emulate because he knew he wasn't very good, but he
Yeah.
kept showing up. He
Yeah.
kept on doing it, even though it was hard. And it wasn't that it was easy. Like I had it kind of easy for me because of anyway. But for him, everything was hard.
He earned
And
it.
he earned everything that he got. And not only did he earn, that playing time in that last game, he earned the respect of
Mm.
every player on the team because they knew he wasn't any good, but he
Yeah.
didn't never quit and he never stopped coming and he was always there. And I always, to the day he passed away, and I had talked to him relatively briefly before that, and I said, "You are my superstar because
Yeah.
of who you are and that you would never quit." And by gum, that is the kind of tenacity and spirit that I would love everybody to have.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
you know, but we don't.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to leave it and to quit rather than to keep going with it.
Yeah.
And
I
speaking
bet
of
the
keeping,
letter on his jacket meant more to him than it did to a lot of other people on the team, huh?
it did. It
Oh,
did.
yeah.
And he wore a Letterman's jacket and he didn't have, the little football and stuff because he
Yeah.
didn't necessarily qualify. But by gum, he was there every day. And
Yeah.
it was just remarkable. Speaking of being
Awesome.
here, Rochelle is here.
Hello. Hi, Jim. How are you?
Very good, Rochelle. How are you? Nice to see you.
You as well. I promised I would be here, and under the oath of God, I am. There's thunderstorms happening and Wi-Fi problems and
Mm.
service problems around me, but I'm fighting all those odds, and I'm very, very thankful to be able to still be in this conversation.
Well, we're glad you're winning.
Yes. I feel like
Yeah.
it. I really do.
It was a struggle. It was because she was there for just a moment. I was going to introduce her and bring her on, and then she disappeared again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But I'm
So,
here and I'm very, very excited. But I'm curious as to what you guys have chatted about so far.
well, first of all, I can tell you this. He's got a book out that is an
Yep.
Amazon bestseller. Dun, da, da.
Mhm.
And he's got 16 grandchildren with 2 in the oven. And it's the same oven, so they're twins, and and stuff. And he's a pilot. He's been the CEO of several major companies, and he's got a podcast with 350 episodes.
Yes, the Grampian. I remember.
Yeah. Okay, so let me tell you a funny story about the book. I told one of my grandsons this weekend is like he's like the Audible version is out now, and so he's like so how long did it take you to record it? And I said, well, buddy, I didn't get to record it, so I auditioned for it, but they selected someone else because the publisher has they got a dog in this fight too, and so. He looked at me, he started to laugh, and goes, "You got fired from your own book?" I'm like, "No, they never even hired me." Which is a different skill set. I get it, but maybe the next one I'll try harder to pay attention to detail. I don't really think I should sit in my closet and read my own book. That's not my speed.
Yeah.
Well, my guess is that you got another book in you, and you should be writing your second book. Are you?
Well, I got a 3-book deal from Morgan James, and so the second one is written, and it's going to come out next February. It's called Management by Cliche, and it is a tip of the cap to my business partner who came up with that phrase. But it's the subtitle is Business Proverbs That Worked. And so I'm pretty excited about it because it's truly a business book, but it's one of the reviews I got, so I got these reviews that are incredible, but then you always have that one. And he didn't say this, but he said, he has a simple truth with, he didn't use these words, but he basically said the guy's not smart enough to use 2 syllables. So,
well, there's no accounting for taste, and he's probably not doing everything that he could be doing for himself as well, rather than just criticizing you. I hate people that do that. Well, I don't hate anybody, but I dislike their behavior. We'll say that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've come to understand is you can't please everybody. So, I'm really not going to try. I'm going to try and look forward and please as many people as I can by just getting the truth out there. And that really is enough for me.
Yeah.
That's enough for anybody because as that old saying goes, it's none of my business what you think of me.
Yeah, for sure. And you have to develop a little bit of a thicker skin because the other thing, people don't pay attention much to a calendar anymore because like my grandson, one of my other grandsons, I sent him a book. And so this happened in maybe early July. It could even be late June because I had some early copies of it. I sent him a book. And so I talked to him last week. He said, "No, Grandpa, I'm waiting for the Audible. I'm not reading your book." I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So I guess I have to go buy him an Audible copy now, but it's got pretty good reviews everywhere else.
It's a different generation sitting down and reading a book because when you're doing an Audible book, you could be in your car, you can be in the mountains like Michelle loves to go hiking and stuff. So she can take an audio book an audiobook there and stuff. But sitting down and reading sometimes is tedious for the younger generation. They have no patience.
Well, they say that if someone is 28 years old, their odds of buying a single book over the course of this next calendar year is 0. So we should learn to meet them where they're at, which is part of being a Grampian. Those generational differences are the things that we have to accommodate, not so much that they should accommodate.
Yeah.
Kevin's going to choke on that, man. He's like, "I'm not accommodating those young punks."
Well, no, the interesting thing about that is if you don't accommodate them, they'll just wash you out. And it's like, I don't talk to that old guy anymore because he obviously has nothing valuable to say, which
Well, and
is,
it's usually the opposite case though, and that's why I usually come to Kevin with all things in my life because I don't know who else to lean on and to trust. But one thing that is on your website you talk about is transparency, and really for a younger person, that's all we're looking for. We don't want you to belittle us, and we also don't want you to like throw us to the ringer and be like, you could do anything, so just do it. It's like, throwing a baby in the pool and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, we're gonna figure it out. But also we've got enough of a little bit of understanding and experience to where if you kind of give those steps and give the understanding and the relation, rather than to this is what you should do, this is what you can do, this is what I want you to do, or just all these things, rather than to just be like, I know where you're at and I've been there before, let me tell you about how I'm feeling. And when I come to Kevin, a lot of times that's exactly why I go to him, is because it's like, I understand and I'm sorry this is hard for you. Sometimes just to be heard and have somebody that can relay that in a very loving way without judgment and all those kinds of things, that because when you're working to be better, it's sometimes things get a little chaotic.
Rochelle, you are so wise. I think that the things that I have learned in working across these generations is that when you talk about transparency fosters credibility. And if we want to be credible, then we have to be transparent. But the other thing is the younger generations, they do a lot of looking up on Professor Google. Do you know what the #1 search term for last calendar year was?
I don't want to know.
Authentic. Just be who you are. Authenticity is also another version of transparency. And we just got to be who we are and let the chips fall where they may and help people along the way.
Yeah, that is very true.
well, unless you are have got multiple personality disorder, you are who you are, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And the older I get, the more I realize it doesn't matter what anybody thinks of you, as long as you are telling the truth, have integrity, be honest, and be forthright and all of those things, then it doesn't matter what other people think of you, because you get to choose who you are. And as long as you can be proud of the presentation that you are making to people on an everyday basis, and don't say things like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that, or I'm being rather judgmental today, and stuff. So, and by the way, we're talking with Jim Tracy. He's the Grampian. Go to his website, the Grampian.com, and then go get his book. And he's an Amazon bestseller. He is he's a really nice man, and I don't say that lightly. He's a really nice man. He's a good husband. Rochelle, he's been married twice as long as you've been alive, almost.
That's insane. I can't even think about that.
To show you what a good decision I made, you just talked a minute about being nice, and my wife has three caveats before you say something. #1, is it true? Okay, so that's pretty easy to judge. #2, is it kind? Should you say it? And then #3, is it necessary? And if it meets all three, just spit it out, man.
And Jim, you said my favorite word, kind. And every time somebody says that, I have to play this. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald and Rochelle. She's right there. That's her. That's her. Take a picture. I'm just kidding. Because she's here now and the thunderstorm may take her away in a
Hopefully
moment.
not. Hopefully not.
But Jim, what'd you think of that?
Wow, that is like the best commercial I have ever seen, man. That is amazing. And I see your actions in it rather than just words and a script. So thank you for that, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Well, no, thank you. That is a concept that's near and dear to my heart because I believe, having driven a bus for 12 years after being a national sales manager, that we can be kind to everybody. It doesn't matter whether they are a billionaire like you or if they are with. He's laughing.
Somebody forgot to tell me about that. I got to go check my account.
He's got you. Show Rochelle the cover of your book real quick.
Yes, let's see.
See that plane in the background?
No, but I see the
plane.
title. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's amazing. I haven't.
Yeah.
Is that one already up on your website? I didn't happen to see a picture of that one.
You know, it is. And more importantly, it's up on Barnes and Noble or wherever you buy books. But,
Very good. Yes.
but
very
it is
good.
up on my website. And, you know, I was really shocked because they release it's one of those things that when you start writing stuff, you don't know how stuff works. And so they release the paperback copy and then they have this gap of time and then they release the ebook. And another month has to pass before they release the Audible. And so you have this returning surge of people who come back to you and they say, hey, man, it starts like this. I read your book and then I downloaded your book. And now it's like, I listened to your book and it's a little bit unnerving because you get comments from people you don't know. And it is, it seems kind of self-serving and egotistical because it's hard to say, well, thank you, I appreciate that. You know, it's kind of like you want to go, oh, did you really like it? But it seems they have.
Yeah.
Jim?
Well,
go ahead,
sorry,
Rochelle.
go ahead.
Ladies first.
You know, I have
Ladies
to
first.
say that when you watch a movie, it's like when you rewatch the movie, you see things and catch things you never would have caught the first time, and then the third, fourth, fifth. So I would encourage to say that if anything, they like it the more they read it because they catch all the things they didn't before.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I even heard that somebody said that they bought the book and they liked it so much that they bought the Audible copy so they could listen to it. And I'm like, you want two of them? I'm a little bit too much of a skinflint for that.
Well, Jim, I just want to tell you, and I'm sure there's a chapter in your book about this. It's own your greatness. Because what you did is going to impact and influence people. And the cool thing is you'll never meet them.
Yeah.
And it may be 10 years from now at a used bookstore or in the library, or it could be on the bookshelf of somebody who bought the book 10 years ago. And somebody goes, oh, that's an interesting title. Oh, yeah, I forgot I read that. That's a good book. You should read it. And then they give it to them. So the impact that you make can be long-lasting and eternal, and so you get to own it. How does that make you feel? Are you a little squirming in your chair about that?
I'm a little squirmy in my chair, but I know what you mean because I went on Amazon the other day and it showed me that there are used copies available now. And it kind of made me feel like when I went, so in Gig Harbor, they have a big thrift store. And the first time I went in there and I saw my corporate gear there and I'm like, they didn't want it. There's like leftover shirts on the secondhand rack, and I actually bought them so twice.
Well, you can always say, well, the shirt's there because they lost a bunch of weight in the way, or they gained a bunch of weight and the shirt didn't fit anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that works.
there you go. There's a glass half full guy, huh?
I'm sorry. It's a my children yell at me all the time. It's like, Dad, would you stop that? Not everything is up cupcakes and roses, Dad.
Yeah.
Is what they tell me. But in any event, Jim Tracy has been with us. We are very pleased that you came and joined us today. And go to his podcast, which is the Champion or Grampian, and you can go there, and it's virtually everywhere these days. So go to your, as they say, your favorite podcast provider, and type in Jim Tracy or the Grampian, and it'll be right there for you.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate that.
But we ain't done with you yet. Rochelle, you do this part so well, so I leave it to you.
Yeah, just thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. We honor it. And I have to say personally that I love that you decided to do the work you did and how you're helping encourage men and people to be a leader and to be authentic and all the things, because you show that. And I think that's what it takes to be a good leader, is to actually be and embody what you teach. A lot of us have people telling us what to do, and they're not doing it. So I honor that you do that and that you've spent your time with us here today. And I look forward to having you back on the show down the road to see what more you've done and where you're at. How many grandkids you've come?
Yeah. I think we're getting towards the end now, but we'll let the kids figure that out instead of me.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a 22-year-old that's about ready to get married. And then they've got a couple of twins.
Great Grampian, huh? That's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah. Well, you're a young man. Of course you're going to be a great Grampian.
Yeah, you look like you still got 50 years to go, so we didn't even worry about it.
Then they'll call me Methuselah.
And by the way, Jim, what I'd like you to do at this point, we got just a couple of moments left. I would like you to take the opportunity to tell our audience anything that you think would be good for them to know.
Wow, these character traits that I talk about in the book are available, but they're available from people who are around you in your circle of influence today. And so two things. Number one, go find a mentor. Go find someone who exhibits the character traits that you want to look like when you're out in the marketplace. And number two, take those character traits, put them to use, and then teach them to somebody else, because you can be a mentor to someone who's going to be better because you're involved in their life. I've got a son-in-law, and the name of his chapter is Steadfast. And he showed me, this is a guy that's remarkably younger than I am, and he showed me what it looked like, excuse me, to be steadfast, to not change with the wind, to just keep going and picking the right thing. So thank you again for having me on. And you guys are doing an awesome job on Positive Talk Radio.
Now there's a bumper sticker and a commercial right there. So you can count on us to create that for you. So, Rochelle, anything else before we go?
No, just once again, thank you for your time. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm very excited to have met you in this lifetime and to take your knowledge and your book and share it with people that I know. So
right. Thank you, Rochelle. You're too kind.
No problem.
And yeah, and how's the thunderstorm?
I am sweating. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little shaky. I have a problem with thunder. But as long as you guys haven't heard it and you can't tell that I've been spazzing in my pants too, then I think it's been quite a good show.
Yeah, there's another bumper sticker, spazzing in my pants. All right. Well, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, Be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin